Hey guys, welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast. Very happy to be joining you today ahead of the week 6 matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. Cannot wait to dive in. First, got to introduce my guys here today. I have to start with Tom Brady's Creepy Kisses on YouTube, aka Alex. Thanks for taking the time to join us, man. I know your Eagles are playing right now, so how you doing?
I'm good. This might be a good distraction from what's about to come because I think Tom Brady's going to do Tom Brady things tonight, unfortunately. But I'm excited to watch Jalen Hurts, so we'll see.
Yeah. For my fantasy football team's sake, I hope Tom Brady does do Tom Brady things. Tyler, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing better. Obviously, things were rough the last couple of days, but being on the podcast really helps. That's kind of the whole thing with the podcast. It's always been a place where you can go just talk about football and apparently politics, according to one of our viewers, and then violating their safe space. Alex, is this the first time that Brady's played the Eagles since the Super Bowl?
Other than the preseason, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, boy. So he's got a revenge game going a little bit here.
I mean, I guess, but no one's really on the team.
It's only like Fletcher Cox and Kelsey and
Ertz. Yeah, everyone else is kind of gone, and it's Jalen Hurts, who wasn't even in the league when that Super Bowl happened. So, but yeah, I mean, I hope we stomp him because he fucking sucks. But
good luck.
Well, it should be a fun matchup in the trenches at least because I know Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Ryan Jensen, Ali Marpet. That'll be a fun one to watch in the trenches. But I know that Alex doesn't like offensive linemen, so it's okay.
No, I like offensive and defensive linemen. I want to see those guys go at it. I did think it was funny that Brady gave a shout out to Hargrave and Cox specifically, and then he also had a quote from the shop where he was like, "Whenever I want to say that this guy sucks, I actually say that he's good in press conferences." I don't know how genuine that was, but it was nice of him.
Yeah, Hargrave has been fantastic this year, and Fletcher Cox is always really good. So, anyways, this is a Chargers podcast. We'll dive right into the Chargers matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. Lots on the line in this one. Just really quickly, do either of you know off the top of your head when the last time the Chargers were 5-1?
2014. I looked this up. This was the Mike
McCoy
year.
Okay.
Yeah. I know this stat because I put it out when they were 4-1. So
they were 5-1 to start that year.
Yeah, and that's when they got to number 1 power rankings, and then everything went to shit.
Yeah, because they ended up 7-9, I think, that year, right?
7-9, 8-8, something like that.
14, they're 9-7, but missed the playoffs. I'm pretty sure.
That's right. Yeah, they were 5-1 to start that year. So, yeah, but definitely a fun matchup this week. Hopefully the past does not repeat itself there.
Oh man.
All right. Sorry. Let's dive into this matchup, though. We'll talk about the biggest storylines as we always do ahead of this matchup. We've talked a lot about very different aspects of this defense. And so I'm going to let Tyler, I assume this is where you're going to go with this one, Tyler. But what is your biggest storyline this week?
Oh, I don't know where you think I'm going with this. So my storyline is pretty general this week. It's just however Staley decides to stop one of the deadliest rushing quarterbacks in the NFL, who is now an elite passer in a very dynamic offense. You watch the Ravens lineup. They had a play versus the Colts where they had the receiver run in motion from left to right, and Jackson took the snap looking forward, then turned and pump fake to the running back, then swings back around to bring his stance over the middle or whatever and hold the defense. And then he again turns over and flips the ball to the receiver, like in the whole shot, like right between the boundary corner that came up to try to get the swing route and then the safety who's back there. Like everything they're doing right now, it's so crisp and so beautifully designed in their plays. And so, how does Staley choose to disrupt the precision with Jackson, the way Jackson's playing? I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of punching the football out this week too, kind of like they were against the Chiefs. Me personally, even though Jackson's been amazing as a thrower this season, I'm still going to be focused on Jackson, the runner. When you throw the ball, 3 things can happen and 2 are bad for Jackson. So hopefully, now we'll see with him this year Adderley, but trust your secondary and the swagger of your defensive backs. Maybe get Campbell onto the field more somehow. If he runs, he's basically killing them, barring a forced fumble. So I'm going to try to maybe stop that first. But again, I'm not the defensive guru. Staley can figure it out, and hopefully he does, and we don't repeat the 47-42 shootout that was last week.
Yeah, so I assume that you were going to be talking about Nick Niemann, so that's my bad. I was
That's later.
misreading the situation. We'll talk about Nick Niemann later. There we go. It's really interesting, right? Because I've given Greg Roman a lot of shit over the last couple of years about the lack of continuity and creativity and efficiency in the Ravens passing attack, and some of that has been personnel for sure. But heading into the season, the excitement was like, oh, we have Rashad Bateman, we have Sammy Watkins. Hopefully Marquise Brown takes a leap, and he has. But Bateman's been hurt. He might be back for this one, which we'll talk about in a second. But their passing attack has been much better than I would have thought. Lamar Jackson leads the league in average depth of target. Marquise Brown is top 5 in yards per reception at the wide receiver position, as is Mark Andrews at the tight end position. So they're pushing the ball down the field a lot more than I would have thought heading into the season, especially, with Lamar, who I think has improved as a passer. But he really seems to have taken a leap, a significant leap this year as a passer. And it is going to be interesting to see, how Staley, divvies up his resources, because there's always that threat of, Lamar Jackson, the runner. And I have confidence that they'll limit the big plays this week. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about the run defense for different reasons than I was last week. Yes. Alex, what is if you want to touch on that, you obviously can, but what's your biggest storyline for week 6?
I think the run defense plays into it, but it's really how do the Chargers match up against a team that's sort of built to attack all of their weaknesses. Run defense is obviously one of them, but also here's a little stat for you. The Chargers are 29th in special teams DVOA. The Ravens are 2nd. They also have the best kicker, and we have the fucking worst kicker. So there's a problem. And the Ravens are also a very well-coached team themselves, right? Like there's no Mike McCarthy, weakness that you're attacking here, or like some kind of replacement level coach. Stefanski was good last week, but obviously he has been dealing with Baker and some of these other injury problems the Browns have been having, right? The Ravens, not super healthy, but relatively speaking for what their team needs, they have Lamar healthy, and that's kind of all they need at this point. Plus they have good coaching with John Harbaugh and all those guys, obviously the OCs and DCs that they have in Wink Martindale and Greg Roman. So they sort of can match up with the Chargers in that way as well. So yeah, pretty much if you're kind of trying to make a recipe for a Chargers win or a Chargers loss in this game, it's going to be based on how do they kind of counter the team that's countering them, right, in terms of attacking all of their weaknesses. So that is what I'm curious to see in this game. And if the Chargers address those needs in special teams, address, what to do with the run defense, address how they're going to attack what the other coaches want to do, I think that's going to really determine. It seems obvious, but this is the first game where I think, not having good special teams, not having good run defense, it's going to cost you against this Browns team. I don't foresee another shootout where, it's a 50-50 score. I think that if they falter in one of those areas I mentioned, they'll lose.
Yeah, the Ravens are so good on special teams every single year, and that stems from Harbaugh's background, right? But I was looking on Football Outsiders this week while I was preparing for this LAFB article that I wrote, and the Chargers are last in yards per kickoff return, and they KJ Hill is like an okay league average punt returner. The problem has been, all of the other stuff where he lets the ball bounce and things like that. So they're like 27th in the league in punt return DVOA on Football Outsiders. So it's not pretty right now. You look at some of these other great offenses, right? Like the Buffalo Bills are the number 1 kick return team in terms of yards per kickoff return. They're first or second, I think, actually in punt return DVOA on Football Outsiders. And, the Chiefs are up there. All these like great teams, they're all having a lot of success in the return game. And to me, that's an easy area for the Chargers to kind of make things easier for Justin Herbert, right? Like it's, the difference between the Buffalo Bills number 1 kickoff return ability and the Chargers last is 8 yards, but that's 8 yards over time, right? Like every little bit counts, once you get into December, January, and February. And it just feels like that's kind of handicapping the Chargers right now.
And unfortunately, there is an easy fix, but for this team and what the coaches want, there is no easy fix because they're going to trot out Roundtree. I'm pretty sure they're going to trot out Hill. I don't know what they're doing with Guyton. Has anyone asked them a question about why they had Guyton out there with Hill? Because that would have been one of the first questions I asked last week, because that is interesting. So, but again, they're not going to change anything. They want to keep the nice possession punts and kick returns and not fumble and start at the 15. And I can't believe KJ Hill is actually somewhere in the average right now.
Yeah, well, it's mostly
because of that 113-yard return.
Yeah, it really is. Like, he's averaging like 6 yards per punt return, but he's only caught and returned like 6 punts. That's the thing. It's issues have been, they don't count fair catches, right? So all the fair catches that he's done do not count for his average. Letting the ball bounce 18 yards against Washington doesn't count for his average. So it's just, Darius Swinton is having a press conference tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday night. So I hope that somebody asks him what's going on. I can't imagine that Nasir Adderley will be returning kicks this weekend because of the injury, because he was on the injury report after the first game. And then in the second game, third game, he didn't really do that. And then he was back last week doing that. So it's going to be Larry Roundtree returning kicks again. And then who knows about punt return? Maybe we do see Jalen Guyton get in there on his own. Please don't do the 2 returner situation high school play again, please. Let it put another blocker out there for whoever's returning punts. But yeah, that's just it should be an easy fix, right? Like, just get a different person back there with a little more juice. My biggest storyline, to me, it's how do the Chargers get their pass rush back on track? And I think, for a variety of reasons, they were not able to get after Baker Mayfield very much this past week. A lot of that is credit to the Browns for really, doing bootleg action opposite of Joey Bosa, or, chipping him, double teaming him, even triple teaming him on a couple plays that I watched today. But some of it was just that the Chargers were just frankly gassed. And they are playing Jerry Tillery and Christian Covington a ton of snaps right now. Frankly, just because they have to. Of course, they were on the field for a lot, this last game. But this game, I feel like, is an opportunity for them to get back on track. Alejandro Villanueva is starting at left tackle, after being a disaster at right tackle in the first game. He's currently maintaining the lead for most pressures allowed in the league, ahead of guys like Storm Norton and, backup tackles and things like that. I think Alex Leatherwood officially is now a guard. So, that helps Alejandro Villanueva out a little bit. Austin Jackson is up there in most pressures allowed too. So it has not been pretty for Villanueva over there on the left side, a little bit better than on the right side. But he's definitely someone that can be had. And same with the right tackle situation. Ben Cleveland, their 3rd round pick, is now injured. He's not going to play in this game. So to me, it's interesting. The pass rush is an interesting concept this week, because they cage rushed, against Patrick Mahomes, trying to keep him within the pocket. So really, it was like, Joey Bosa, you get home, or like none of us do. And I think we probably see that a little bit this week. But Lamar Jackson is also a below average passer when blitzed. And so this unfortunately it's a rough game overall to lose Drew Tranquill, which we'll get to, but particularly his ability as a blitzer was something I was looking forward to this week, because the Ravens have not done a good job picking up blitzes, and Lamar Jackson has kind of struggled when being blitzed. So the pass rush to me is a key this week, because they did not get after Baker Mayfield enough, and really it caused them some problems. And this week, I think they have to do a better job of isolating Joey Bosa in one-on-one situations and getting home on Patrick Mahomes. Because you mentioned, the peanut punch and forcing fumbles, and we all know what Uchenna and Nwosu did in 2018 to swing the game, seal the game for the Chargers. And so I think the pass rush is in for a must-win opportunity this week.
Yeah, and I want to ask you this, Steven, since you're the offensive line guru kind of the podcast. Do you think that when it comes to the sort of lack of pass rush we saw maybe against Dallas and against Cleveland a little bit, that it was kind of them getting gashed in the run game that contributed to that? Because in both of those games we go, okay, well, the Browns don't have, Jedrick Wills, and they don't have Jedrick Wills as backup. Chargers don't create pressure. Against Dallas, it was, they don't have Terrence Steele, so it's going to be a cakewalk for Joey Bosa. And then, that wasn't really the case. So it seems like they had more success against the Chiefs and the Raiders. The Chiefs did have some success running the ball, but not relative maybe to where Cleveland and Dallas were. So do you think that sort of the beating that they were taking in the run game contributed to sort of the lack of pass pressure consistently on reps?
I think it definitely contributes more so for the defensive tackles than it does, the edge rushers, because they're rotating the edge rushers and keeping them fresh, supposedly. I like the rotation that they have opposite of Joey that they're doing with Rumph and Fackrell and Nwosu. It feels essentially like, Nwosu's taking 40 to 45 snaps. Fackrell's like 25, 30. Rumph is 5 to 10. So I like the rotation they're keeping out there. But the defensive tackles, like it's so hard for a guy like Christian Covington to go from, all right, I'm getting double teamed on this play by the best center and best left guard in the league to, okay, now I have to get after Dak Prescott, who's going to get the ball out in 2.5 seconds. Or now I have to get after Baker Mayfield, who's going to bootleg and be 15 yards away from me by the time that I can get to him. So it definitely contributes for the defensive tackles, not so much in the edge rushers, in my opinion. But they didn't get after the pass rusher or the passer against Dallas, I think, because of their quick game more so. Dak Prescott was getting the ball out in like 2.2 seconds, like really, really fast release time. And then Baker was a lot of rollouts. It was a lot of RPOs and a ton of screens. I don't know if you guys saw this, but 22% of Baker Mayfield's production this season has come on screens, which is just like atrocious. And so
that's nice.
That's some Justin Herbert Oregon stuff.
Yes.
So to answer your question, yes, it definitely contributes, but it's not the only thing that is holding them back.
Right.
Hopefully they have some sort of game plan to at least win on early downs, because the Ravens, watching them handle Chris Jones, it was just throw different things at him, run by him, run around him, make him useless, whatever. They did such a good job against him. Then, of course, you just watch what the Browns do. And again, the 22% of Baker's production is on screens. And I think he had, I want to say it was like 150 to 200 yards of his production were on screens that day, which of course you need some good tackling to wrap that up and finish it. So hopefully they have some sort of good plan, because the Ravens are obviously watching those two games and thinking, okay, this is easily how we can beat this Chargers defense and their down players. It's going to be rough. They just got to find ways to win. Hopefully Nick Niemann can contribute.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity for Niemann. It's a big opportunity for forcing turnovers, right? Because they were not able to do that against the Browns. The Browns, of course, are very safe in that regard. But we've seen Lamar Jackson be very loose with the ball, these last few weeks. He had 3 fumbles this past week against the Colts. The Colts were able to only recover 1 of them. So this is a big opportunity to create some turnovers and give Justin Herbert some short fields. And so I think the pass rush is key to that as well. Any other big storylines for you guys in this one?
Lamar Jackson. that's really the kind of beginning end all storyline of this team, because to me, when you look at kind of the rosters, stacking them up against each other, the Chargers have, to me, a better roster than the Ravens, like when you look at them totally. But I think the advantage that Lamar gives them and what he's going to be that game really determines whether the Ravens win or lose. And if you get kind of the Lamar that we saw against the Raiders, I should say, then that's sort of more of a turnover happy quarterback, maybe wasn't feeling himself quite like he is now in the passing game, then you have a chance, a much better chance to win, I think. Yeah, even that game went to overtime and both teams turning over the ball in the red zone. But I think against the Colts, even though he produced those fumbles, he also made up for throwing 400 yards, right? So to me, he is the Ravens, right? Like there's no real, like, considering the injuries in the run game and all the other injuries they have, like the team will go as far as he does. So I'm curious to see, like we've talked about, what Brandon Staley's plan is to stop him.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a player like that is, really truly the MVP of his team, like I think Lamar Jackson has a serious case of being like the actual most valuable player for his team. And so with the way that their rushing attack is working right now, it's all Lamar, and they're using him more up the middle this year on the edges. They're not just doing, option stuff. They're doing, quarterback counters, quarterback dives. Like they're using him as much as they possibly can, because they just do not have a reliable running back, because obviously J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are injured right now. So
yeah, and I saw people talking about like, oh, well, because of the Ravens running back injuries, then that means you don't have to worry about their run game. I'm like, no. They're still top 5 in rushing, and they're averaging 158 yards a game because of that, man. So like, you do still have to worry about it, whether it's Latavius Murray or me in the game, just because Lamar's gonna be Lamar. Like that's it at this point.
Yeah. And I saw a tweet that was saying that if you're talking about a 16 game pace through 5 games, his pace right now is better than what he did as an MVP in 2019. So obviously he gets an extra game this year. So the MVP race this year is going to be crazy. Like there's so many quarterbacks playing at such a high level right now. Lamar, obviously, and Justin Herbert as well. So let's get to some of these injury updates next. I think this is an interesting conversation. I know a lot of people were worried in particular about Mike Williams, who is listed on the injury report. He did not practice today. The Chargers had a walkthrough on Wednesday, so Wednesday was really just kind of an estimation. But Alex, any worry about Mike Williams not playing in this game?
I think he'll play. They said on the official injury report that it's a knee, right? Because
yes.
I guess that's interesting just because I thought coming out of the Browns game that it would be his ankle because that's sort of what he turned, but I guess his knee may have also buckled on that play on the sideline. I'm not really concerned about him not playing. I think he'll give it a go, unless we're also talking about Friday and he doesn't practice tomorrow. Then I think that could be it. But we've also seen Staley not practice players on Friday and then play them in the game, right? So he is extra cautious in that regard. I am a little bit concerned about what the receiving game is going to be without him. Obviously, the Ravens secondary is still banged up right now, but they have Marlon Humphrey. So, like, to me, they can lock down one Charger, but if you give them the Keenan Allen, Mike Williams 1-2 punch, I do think they will struggle with that due to the loss of Marcus Peters, obviously, earlier in the year.
Tyler, any worry about Mike Williams this week?
He's a tough dude. And so in terms of him playing, I'm not worried yet, but this is a very awful game to miss to not be healthy for. And I hope this is not the beginning of something awful for Williams. He's off to an incredible start, and the Browns got him paid by themselves. But I don't know. He finished the game, right? I know. I think I saw some Josh Palmer, but he did finish the game. So I'm hoping it's precautionary. I do think he will play. At what capacity? I don't know. Josh Palmer only has, I think, 6 targets and 5 catches so far. That's a big, big hole to fill.
Yeah, I happen to think that Mike is going to play. Like Tyler said, I think he's played through worse, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think Williams will play. If he's not, that gets a little dicey, right? Because I think, not that I'm gonna say, I don't want to spoil this later on, but Marlon Humphrey, like Alex mentioned, is a legitimate shutdown corner. The Colts flat out did not target him. They targeted him once on a screen pass, and they just said, we're not even going to throw his way. Wow. And we've seen that from the Raiders, did the same thing. And so Marlon Humphrey is legit. And so, Keenan Allen, if they want to shadow him, like that could be a really tough matchup for him potentially. So if Mike Williams is not playing, I think that's obviously a big drop off. I'm slightly concerned about Nasir Adderley's ability to play in this one. Only for the fact because, they estimated him as a limited participant on Wednesday's practice. And then today he was a DNP. So this definitely could be them being precautionary. We've seen that time and time again with this staff, but I am slightly concerned that Adderley is not able to play. I know he had a tough game against the Browns, particularly on David Njoku in space, missing some tackles. There was that clip of Odell Beckham Jr. really destroying him in the run game. I don't know if you guys saw that. So he did have a tough game. Yeah, he had a tough game, but I think that if he's able to play, I think he'll be able to bounce back. Because I think, like I've said a few times, I think he's really on the cusp of breaking out. But if he's not able to play, I think that really limits what you are able to do with Derwin James in this one. And ideally, you'd want to be able to allow Derwin in the box, matching up with Mark Andrews. And if Nasir Adderley's not able to play, then that really limits the kind of way you're able to move Derwin James around. So I'm slightly concerned about Nasir Adderley this one.
I wonder how they're going to. Well, if he doesn't play, I'm assuming it's Gilman, even though I think Webb is technically Adderley's backup. But like,
I think it'd be Gilman too.
Yeah, but Gilman's been playing the most. My concern is either Gilman or Webb. If you watch Webb, he had some troubles against Travis Kelce. Then, of course, Gilman, I was charting all the plays that the Chargers had and how they stopped Waller. The only way Waller got open was because Gilman was just late a couple of times. Like the biggest play Waller had, it was because of Gilman. So I'm a little concerned when you have something like Mark Andrews coming up. Adderley, yes, he had a bad game, but he's been arguably, well, no, Mike Williams is most improved, but pretty close to most improved on the team. He's been amazing. And despite the one bad game, there were still good things in that game. Yeah. So missing him, like even though Mike Williams has practiced less, I feel like we know something about that. This going from limited to does not practice always feels worse to me. So hopefully he can play, because that's going to be like, he's the last line of defense. Lamar Jackson is going to blow by whoever is in the, is playing linebacker. And I don't know if Gilman's going to make that tackle like Adderley can.
Yeah, I mean, just how the Chargers have been doing injury reports, because was it last week or the week before we saw the Chargers go from limited Justin Jones to did not practice Justin Jones to IR Justin Jones, right? So like we've seen that as well, unfortunately. And then we've also seen someone like Kenneth Murray get hurt in a late practice, right before that Monday night game. So to me, health is going to be a big thing for this team going forward. But yeah, I think they need Nasir Adderley in this one, especially given how the Ravens receivers have been playing better and how Lamar has been more frequent as a pass target. Obviously, need him in the run game too, especially given the loss of both Kenneth Murray and Drew Tranquill now, which I think is going to be a huge problem for them in this one with the Ravens running game. So, they need Adderley to play, and I would say they also need Mike Williams to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two are players, like Tyler said, arguably the two most improved players on the team. Unfortunately, I don't think Drew Tranquill is going to be playing in this one. He's listed with a chest injury. Brandon Staley said yesterday that they're still trying to gather information. So he said it would take probably a couple days. So he's not going to practice tomorrow, most likely, which means he probably is going to be out. So tough couple weeks for the Chargers linebacker room, losing Kenneth Murray to injured reserve. Now you potentially have Drew Tranquill missing this one. Brandon Staley did say it's not something serious. It's not something that they would put him on IR for. Of course, they have the bye week next week, so that's obviously good for Drew Tranquill. But this is a potentially big loss. Alex, what kind of confidence level do you have in Nick Niemann, Eamon Ogbongbemiga? Maybe they switch to doing some more dime package this week. Where are you at with the Drew Tranquill potentially missing this game?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 14 in terms of concern for this game. Not really because of Nick Niemann and Eamon Ogbongbemiga not having like that kind of experience, although that's definitely part of it. But I mean, you look back to that Patriots playoff game, for example, where the Chargers had to run all of these, 7, 8 cornerback, or safety lineups, right, in order to try to counteract the Patriots in that game. And the Patriots said, okay, you have these injuries, so we're just going to gash you, right? And they did it the whole game with James White and all those guys that they had. And this Ravens game kind of seems similar to me, where it's like, okay, well, your choices are you can either play Nick Niemann and Eamon Ogbongbemiga and, take the, losses there that they'll have on some reps, or you can put all of your, cornerbacks and safeties on the field, and then we can maybe eat you up that way as well. So to me, it's really concerning. It's not a diss on Nick Niemann or Ogbongbemiga, but not having Drew Tranquill for this game after already losing Kenneth Murray is super concerning. Now they still do have Kaiser, and so that obviously is a big factor, particularly in the run game. But yeah, my confidence level in terms of like trying to stop this Ravens offense, particularly because they need to watch Lamar at all times, it's scary.
I feel very confident in Nick Niemann. It is an awful matchup. This is a terrible, terrible matchup to get your first start.
Yeah.
But again, the reason I picked Niemann in the mock draft is because of Drew Tranquill, what they're looking for, right down to the RAS score. Drew Tranquill's 9.87. Nick Niemann's is 9.9. They are used and can be used in very similar ways. In the preseason, you saw Tranquill blitz, you saw Niemann blitz, and both were good at it.
Yeah.
Now, backups versus starters, But hey, you see the idea is very similar.
Sure.
Drew Tranquil has been a pretty sure tackler. Nick Niemann is a very, very good tackler. Granted, again, not against NFL starters yet, but he was a good tackler in college. He looked like a really good tackler in the preseason. So a lot of the stuff you can use him for, or at least you can hope for him for. I think you can not like a discount Drew Tranquil because I'm they're both kind of day 3 picks, but you can kind of do the same things. And
Sure.
maybe he is just like Nick Niemann comes on the field. Maybe Ogbongbemiga is more of a down to down guy. Maybe they have Niemann come on just to blitz or be the third down guy or something. Make it really easy. Hey, Niemann, I know it's your first start or whatever you're going to do, your first big game with actual defensive snaps. We're just going to have you rush the passer, or we're going to have you cover the flat, or whatever it is. I feel confident that he can take care of it. The only difference is Drew Tranquil has been a lot stronger this year than I expected. I don't know where Niemann is at in that regard. They had the exact same weight coming out of college. Niemann is just 1 inch shorter, I believe. But Tranquil just looks like he got stronger, and he knows what he's doing. He's been there. That's the big difference. So I think you can kind of mask some deficiencies. I do feel confident that Niemann can do a good job, but it's an unforgiving matchup. So best of luck to him because it's a hell of a matchup.
Right. I mean, it's also just that like it's an unforgiving matchup, and it's like a hell of a place to have your first NFL game, like against the Ravens. If we were going against the Giants this week or something, or some like just bad NFL team with no running game, like I don't think it would matter as much. But just because this is the particular matchup, that's why I don't really have too much confidence in Niemann or Ogbongbemiga to do it, this game. Now, in 2 weeks, that could be a different conversation. If they start to get some reps and start to get that experience, then maybe they're playable. But right now, I think this is the worst possible matchup for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think for me, it's more so the mental side because, like Tyler's saying, like I have confidence that Nick Niemann can see ball, get ball, right? Like a lot of it is just instincts in terms of the run game, in terms of covering. Like I think that he could do pretty well in certain instances in coverage and make some plays in space. The issue is that the Ravens run so many different option runs, option passes that you have to be so sound in your technique, in your reads, and Nick Niemann can definitely do that. But it's just the frequency with which they throw these reads at your linebackers that it concerns me because Drew Tranquil, we've heard time and time again, is one of the smartest football players on the team. One of, the players with the highest IQ in terms of communication, in terms of reading, in terms of film study. And so if he's not able to go, like I hope that he is coaching the hell out of Nick Niemann on the sideline because, that to me is the part we miss. I think physically, I have no doubt that Nick Niemann will be able to hold up. It's just that when you're playing Lamar Jackson, if you misread on 1 second, Lamar is gone. Or, he's throwing to Marquise Brown for a big gain or Mark Andrews. So to me, it's more so the mental side. But in terms of like physical gifts and like making tackles, I have no issues. If Nick Niemann leads the team in tackles on Sunday, I would not be surprised. It's just like the mental errors. They cannot afford to have many of them, if any. And that's where I think where you'll miss Drew Tranquil. And he's a core 4 special team player. Like Alex was saying earlier, like Tranquil has been a key cog on the punt return, on the kick return. Despite being a starting linebacker, he's still maintained his special teams role. So that is another wrinkle. Maybe that's Eamon Ogbongbemiga's role on Sunday or Cole Christiansen if they elevate him. So this missing Drew Tranquil is big.
Question. Okay. All right. This is too early, but whatever. If Nick Niemann, let's say he's an outstanding game, great game. Drew Tranquil and Kaiser White are your starters, but Nick Niemann has a great game. Maybe even Ogbongbemiga plays pretty well in special teams, contributes on defense a little bit. When do we start considering trading Kenneth Murray? It's very early.
Let's watch the game first.
It's very early. Come on.
I'm going to say no on this one.
I can see the wheels turning in Alex's head, like as Tyler is talking right there.
I'm not saying they should do it.
Yeah.
But when do we start planting that seed?
I guess what's his trade value at this point is what I would say in response to that question. Like, to me, if you're getting like a 5th or 6th round pick back for him, doesn't it just kind of make more sense to keep him on the team and see if he can improve and contribute in some capacity? Like, that would be my thing. And like, he's only still in his 2nd year, obviously had his struggles, but I'm more curious still to see what he's like after the injury. Although, I get why you're excited about Nick Niemann. I think we all are, but I'm not jumping the gun yet.
No, I think if Nick Niemann plays well or Eamon plays well, I think they earn more snaps, because right now we've seen the two linebackers have essentially dominated the snaps, right? Like it's been, both of them are on the field or one of them is on the field. We've never seen Nick Niemann in the game or Eamon. Even Tranquil, like the first 2 weeks, we barely saw Tranquil. So to me, that would be more about earning snaps. But like if you want to, talk about trading Kenneth Murray, I know a team down in South Florida that could use some high-end talent, and I know a team in LA that could use a run-stuffing defensive tackle. So, let's make a swap and make it happen, Captain.
I like it. Specifically who?
Christian Wilkins.
Okay.
On the Dolphins.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. I know a lot of people think that like they're gonna keep him and he's indefensible. He's a defensive tackle. I don't know why a team like the Dolphins, who are going in the wrong direction, would try and keep a defensive tackle who they're about to have to pay some money to. So to me, I probably would consider trading him if I were Miami.
Yeah, whenever you say like Florida NFL team now, I just immediately think Urban Meyer. So I was like, why does Steve? First of all, why do the Jags have high-end talent, and also why do you want to give Kenneth Murray and Urban Meyer? I was like so confused. But the Dolphins might make sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Jaguars have Roy Robertson Harris, who I wanted the Chargers to sign. They're not using him. He's been a healthy scratch, so that trade can happen too. Because I think that would help as well. All right, let's get to the Ravens side of things, because I think this isn't their injury report, similar to the Browns last week, is pretty lengthy. Let me make sure I pull this up and get the right thing. Lamar Jackson, I know everybody was like doing the eyeball thing today. He was just sick, apparently. Like he's fine. The offensive line to me is an interesting one to keep an eye on, because Ronnie Stanley is still not practicing. And we know that he had the serious injury, which he tried to rush back from. Alejandro Villanueva did not practice either today, did not practice yesterday. So if Alejandro Villanueva is down as well, then the Ravens are on their 4th and 5th tackles, which is obviously a big issue. I know that I talked to Ken McCusick, and he was lamenting that the Ravens did not keep Michael Schofield because they need tackle depth, and a lot of people like Schofield and what he was doing in practice. So an interesting one to kind of talk about offensive line injuries, as Chargers lose Ode Abushi. Ravens are potentially without Villanueva and Stanley in this one. So I think those are kind of the two key injuries for me.
What was Villanueva's injury, or what's his designation?
It's a knee injury and did not participate in practice today.
Both days?
Both days.
Interesting. So one pressure for Joey Bosa, right? That's how it's been going this season.
I mean, look, with how Villanueva's been playing too, like having someone else might just be an upgrade. Like, so I don't know if that's like a huge advantage for the Chargers. Obviously, just an offensive line in disarray should, in theory, be advantage for them, but we've seen that not quite play out that way this season, unfortunately. I just assumed that when they put illness on the injury report that it's the player had the shits. I just assumed that out of principle.
Especially Lamar.
Well, especially Lamar. But even as a Sixers fan, I've seen Joel Embiid gastroenteritis on the injury report all the time, and it just means, he had the shits.
They actually say it?
Yeah, they say gastroenteritis. But so, illness means the shits, unless they tell you that he's in the COVID protocol. But yeah, no. I think that pretty much I think their offensive line situation is iffy. I guess I would just say I don't think they need like a crucial performance in their offensive line just because of what Lamar is giving them in terms of speed in the pocket. Obviously, you don't want to have him pressured a lot if you're the Ravens, but Steven talked about the pass rating under pressure and stuff like that when he's blitzed. But I do think that they're the one team that can kind of survive not having a great offensive line against Joey Bosa just because of how elusive Lamar is, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then the other one to keep an eye on, it doesn't look like Sammy Watkins is going to play this week. Apparently Jim Harbaugh gave a less than confident "we'll see" when asked about Sammy Watkins. They might be getting Rashad Bateman back in this one. Obviously the former first round pick, somebody that I think a lot of people were excited about that addition, because that gives Lamar a true like separator and route runner, which he's never really had. We'll have to see with that one. I think they might be cautious because this is the first week that he could be back from his injury, technically. So we might not see him, but I don't think we'll see Sammy Watkins. So in this one, it's going to be a lot of Marquise Brown, a lot of Mark Andrews, a lot of Devontae Freeman out of the backfield, which is super weird just to see and say out loud. But it looks like the receiving core for the Ravens is pretty banged up still.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't official, but Hollywood Brown was playing Madden on Twitch earlier and said that Rashad Bateman is active. So he might have broken his own news there. I don't know, but we'll see.
There we go. I mean, that'll be fun to watch. As a draft fan, you know, I was a big Bateman guy, so we'll have to see about that one. All right, guys. Anything else about the injury report?
Nope.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on to our key matchups and our X factors. I'm gonna go first with this one, if you guys don't mind, for the key matchups. To me, this is all about Austin Ekeler versus Patrick Queen, the linebacker, and kind of by extension Jared Cook, because we saw how much they wanted to isolate Jared Cook against Denzel Perryman. But Patrick Queen is going through it right now. I mean, of course, you know, who are we to talk, as Kenneth Murray is too, but you know, Patrick Queen really has been atrocious in coverage this year. Missed tackles was a big issue last year as well. He's missed 10 tackles this year already, for a missed tackle rate of 23.3, which is not very good. Yeah. So he has been targeted 24 times so far in 5 games. He's allowed 19 catches for 193 yards and 1 touchdown for a passer rating of 100.2. So teams are going at Patrick Queen. We saw the Colts do this with Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines. So we've seen Austin Ekeler be very, very involved the last few weeks. I think we see that again this week. I think we see Jared Cook isolated with Patrick Queen as well, because we hear time and time again from Joe Lombardi that this is a matchup-based offense. And with Jared Cook and Austin Ekeler, I think you have some really, really strong advantages over the entire Ravens linebacker core, but specifically Mr. Patrick Queen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Queen that, I mean, both guys, first round picks, so much promise, nothing happening. But yeah, the Ravens have missed 50 tackles on the year. I believe the Chargers are at like 40, even with that atrocious 18 missed tackle performance last week. The Ravens have missed 50 tackles on defense so far. Not good. So Austin Ekeler having a good day. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'll say my key matchup, also sticking with the Ravens defense, but I'll say Ravens defensive line versus Chargers offensive line in terms of pass rush. I don't think that the Ravens have a guy like obviously a Myles Garrett or a Crosby that the Chargers have played in previous weeks who are just these pressure creators. But I mean, you look at their offensive line or their defensive line in particular. I mean, they have good guys on there, particularly in the interior, where the Chargers are going to be putting a new player there in terms of Schofield starting, and then you'll still have Norton there on the right side. But they have Calais Campbell. They have Justin Houston as sort of one of their edge rushers, along with Odafe Owe, who's had a sort of a great defensive rookie season so far, which has been fun to see. But, you know, they also have, just a bunch of guys like Matabuke and guys who can, clog the middle. I don't think they can give the Chargers a lot of problems from like a Slater standpoint, but I think they can still, kind of sneakily attack sort of the other pieces of the offensive line, particularly the right side now that unfortunately Ode Ibushi is out for the rest of the season. So not a huge concern for me, but this is, 1 p.m. game on the road where I think traditionally home defenses tend to do a little bit of feasting a little. So this could be sort of what the doctor ordered for that Ravens defense on some level. And I could just see all of these guys, given how experienced they are in a lot of ways, particularly like Calais Campbell and Justin Houston and all those guys sort of coming into this game with a little bit of a, point to prove, especially with, unfortunately, Bushi being out now.
Yeah, the Odafe Owe is just like so classic Ravens. Like you take the edge rusher with, the most question marks, but he's just a freak. And instantly he's a stud, right? Instantly he's got 18 pressures right now. which is not great, but for a rookie, that's very, very solid. He's got 3 sacks after not having any last year. So, that evaluation was one that I wish I could have back.
I'll take the W on that one. I'll take the W on that one, baby.
To be fair, I hate Penn State with a passion. And
I do too. But he's from New Jersey, so I had to give him a little bit of a pass.
No, but he's been playing really well. I think the matchup that really concerns me specifically is Calais Campbell. Who still is, just playing at such a high level, and he's 6'8", and he gets the batted passes like every single game. Blocked a field goal this past week against the Colts. So to me, I'm less worried about Owe and Justin Houston than I am, Calais Campbell against Matt Filer and Michael Schofield. We've seen Matt Filer have some, or I've seen Matt Filer have some struggles with some pad level issues. So this could be a big game for Calais Campbell, and I think that to me is really kind of going to determine the day, because I have full confidence at this point in Rashawn Slater holding his own. I think this is probably a one pressure game, if anything. Yeah. Norton, we'll see, but I feel like always going to go mostly against Slater, Houston mostly against Norton, so that'll be a wash in my opinion. But to me, it's Calais Campbell that I'm most worried about for the offensive line this week.
Yeah, it does seem like they do trust Schofield. I believe they had him on that trap block versus Myles Garrett on that 4th and 2 run with Ekeler, which I was surprised. Like, you're in the game and go block Myles Garrett on a crucial 4th down.
Right.
I was like, okay. So they definitely trust him. That's obviously not easy. So, I mean, this is a big, big game because they are going to be playing. The defense knows ahead of time, obviously, that Schofield and Norton are out there. So is this going to be a problem position, or can they hang? There's a big season-long outlook here.
Yeah, and we all know how the Ravens like to blitz too. So this is a big communication one. We'll see where Norton and Schofield are at in terms of chemistry, because it took Ibushi and Norton a couple weeks to get to that point too. So big test for there. Tyler, what is your key matchup of the day?
My key matchup is going to be Donald Parham versus the secondary. If you talk about Darren Waller, 10 catches, 105 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce, 7 catches, 109 yards and a touchdown. Granted, those are Waller and Kelce.
Right.
But hey, here comes Donald Parham. He's not, I hope they don't make him just the secret weapon anymore. He averages 13 yards a catch, 8.4 of those after the catch. You saw that play versus Cleveland where he's both a ballerina and a bull. To me, especially if Mike Williams is hurt and he's not playing, feed it to him a few more times. And if they can't stop it, keep going back to him. He's just a mismatch kind of guy. But I'd rather they not use him as Jared Cook 80% of the way, and then Donald Parham a couple just to get like the one red zone touchdown, the one first down conversion or whatever. I want to see him being used as a consistent weapon, especially, like I said, with Williams hurt.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see. I mean, he had a media day this week, which we haven't seen of.
And the podium was by his crotch.
I loved his answer about the Kevin Durant dance, that he was like practicing his dance in the shower. It's so funny. But we haven't really seen them use a supporting player like that to have a media day. It's mostly been team captains and key players. So that is just, maybe that's probably me just reading too much into something, because all I do is think about the Chargers. But Donald Parham having a big game, I think, would be a lot of fun to watch, especially if Mike Williams is out, like you're saying. And just I was just looking on Pro Football Focus. David Njoku shot up this list, obviously, after last week. But Donald Parham is tied for 6th right now in most yards after the catch per reception among tight ends with 8.4. So, he's having a good year. I think we could see potentially a big game this week from him.
Hope so.
Alex, we'll start with you for the X factors. Who is your X factor of the day?
Darius Swinton. Buddy, you got to boost that special teams up, because I am sick of seeing it. And if it, this is the game where it's going to cost them. They've gotten away with bad special teams play, as bad as last year, I would say. And if you have a bad special teams day, here's the thing: Justin Tucker's on the other side of the field, and he can kick from 80 yards if he wants to. You have good punt returners and kick returners for the Ravens who will make you eat shit in that regard as well. So to me, this is the week where I do not think the Chargers can afford. I'm not going to say any special teams errors, but like anything is just going to be, really detrimental to them potentially winning this game. So I think we need a standout performance, whether that's mixing things up and, taking KJ Hill out, putting Guyton in. Don't think they're going to do it. Whether that's, trying something different than Larry Roundtree. Don't think they're going to do it. Or Vizcaino simply making PATs. Don't think he's going to do it. But this is just where the Chargers special teams is. And, they've gotten away with it in quite a few games. But this is the game where, given how good the Ravens are in special teams, I mentioned the second in DVOA earlier, given how well coached they are as well, if you don't, come to play today with special teams, then honestly, I would feel pretty comfortable calling it a loss if you're just promising me that special teams is going to be the same as it was last week. So I think everybody involved, not just Darius Swinton, but also KJ Hill, Larry Roundtree, Vizcaino, shit or get off the pot.
Well said.
I like it.
Go ahead, Tyler.
No, while I do think there's not a whole lot Swinton can do, I am curious because a couple of people have made a proper deal of the Chargers and their field goal blocking, whether that be them just not blocking correctly off the right side or the timing of the snap count. So I'm actually very interested to watch that. I did not go back and watch any of the other games to see if that was a problem, but I'm very curious to see if that's a problem moving forward.
I haven't seen it specifically with the field goal blocking, but I would imagine it's a problem because Ty Long gets murdered on every punt.
Yes.
So I would imagine it's also the problem there.
Yeah. And Calais Campbell, like I said, made a huge career out of blocking PATs and field goals. So hopefully we do not see that this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, a little boring here. My next X factor is Nick Niemann because, he's going to be from linebacker 4, not playing at all, to linebacker 2 in the span of a couple of games, assuming Tranquil can't go, and it doesn't seem like he can. Tackles well, arguably, a more sure tackler than Tranquil maybe, incredibly athletic, but it's a big game. It's a big game. If he doesn't work, I hesitate to say that if he doesn't work, the defense doesn't work. But if he doesn't work, the defense doesn't work. I really think he has a pivotal role in this game. Do or die, shit or get off the pot. Second one of the podcast.
Well done, you two. Well done. Definitely a big game for Nick Niemann. I think my X factor for this one, I've gone back and forth between which member of the secondary I wanted to talk about here. But I'm going to talk about Michael Davis. And I know a lot of people have been kind of complaining about Michael Davis on Twitter. The interceptions are not there this year.
Who are they so I can go fight these people? Michael Davis is our CB1, and he is great.
Oh, yeah. I think this is potentially a big day for Michael Davis because we've seen in the past, particularly against the Chiefs and the Raiders, that he's been covering the tight end, covering the deep part of the field. And they're really using him as their poor man's version of Jalen Ramsey, if you want to call it that, to put him in the slot against bigger receivers. They'll press man him on the outside. And I think this is a game where we could see Michael Davis come down with an interception. Lamar Jackson, according to Pro Football Focus, has 7 turnover-worthy passes. And so, he is going to give this Chargers team opportunities to take the ball away. And they have to take advantage. We've seen Michael Davis come up with the fumble recoveries. I think we could see him come up with an interception, but I think I have a good amount of confidence, a high level of confidence that he is going to hold his own against Mark Andrews. And because of that, I think, the defense, at least in terms of covering, I think the defense will have a good day. And I think Michael Davis will be a big part of that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an expectations thing or what, but people are some people are down on Michael Davis as a corner. He's given up 31 yards the past 2 weeks on 10 targets. Chill. I thought personally, no one did a better job in their responsibility of covering Darren Waller than Michael Davis. He was physical with him. He's athletic. He could turn and run with him. Are there some moments where you'd like him to be better? Sure, maybe. But like you said, poor man's Jalen Ramsey. They're moving him everywhere. I don't get why people are so down on him. I think he's done a fantastic job this whole season, and I think he's only going to get better.
Yeah, completely agree there. All right, let's move on to the bolt predictions. This is always a fun one, Tyler. We missed having you in this segment last time because you've really brought some energy in this segment. So I'll let you kick this one off. What is your bold prediction for this matchup?
I appreciate that. And I also appreciate your synergy earlier talking about Austin Ekeler as your matchup, because I think my X factor, or excuse me, my bold prediction is Austin Ekeler has 15 receptions in this game. He goes for 100 receiving yards. I don't know how many touchdowns. How bold can we go? Let's say just one touchdown, but 15 receptions. And I think it's justified. We've seen him have like 15 to 20 targets before. So I did think he can reach it. But if Mike Williams is gone and your big possession receiver is gone, maybe funnel some targets to Austin Ekeler and take advantage of those matchups. Why not? He's arguably your best offensive player.
Very bold there with the number of receptions. When was the last time he had double-digit receptions? Do you know?
Buffalo, maybe. Definitely targets. I don't know about receptions.
Let's look. I'm going to look because I feel like he had a few of those in like 2019. I'm not sure if he had any of those last year.
Targets versus Buffalo, I think. And then I think against the Broncos when Gordon was back or something.
Buffalo, he had 14 targets and 11 catches.
Okay.
Targets was that was the most of last year. Against the Panthers, he also had 11 catches on 11 targets, that one. So 2 times last year. Let's look at 2019 because I feel like he had like 15 catches twice. So he had 15 catches against the Broncos and then 11 catches against the Chiefs. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
So in the realm of possibilities for Austin Ekeler. Alex, what is your bold prediction for this week?
I'm not going to go so much with a stat-based prediction, but I will go with a snap percentage prediction. I think this is the first week Donald Parham takes over as tight end 1. I think that he will outsnap both Jared Cook and Steven Anderson. I think this is the game we're going to see it. We've seen sort of this building throughout the year. And they've sort of been like funneling Jared Cook out a little bit, particularly the last 2 weeks. Hasn't given me much fantasy value. So I feel like this is kind of the week to get Donald Parham involved. So I'll say from a snap percentage standpoint, if you just want to chunk out the tight ends here, I think that Donald Parham will play the highest percentage out of any of them.
So Jared Cook last week had 67% of the snaps. That's his second most of the year. Donald Parham did increase from 52% the week prior to 53%. So man, they're on the way. It's coming.
Very fun. Very fun. I feel like I've given a lot of love to the rookies in this segment. Asante Samuel Jr.'s interception last week. Tyler, I predicted Josh Palmer's first career touchdown. Unfortunately, did not happen. Would love to see that guy get more involved. So I'm going to stick with the theme. I think we see Chris Rump's first sack of his career this week. He didn't really play a ton this past week. I think a lot of that was kind of matchup based just because the Browns were so heavily involved in the rushing department. So I think we see Chris Rump's first career sack this week. Going bold there.
Okay, I'm going to force you to go a little bit bolder. Is it a created sack or a covered sack?
Created sack.
Okay, so he's going to do it all by himself. All right.
Do it all by himself. And not a half sack.
No half sacks.
No. No Lance Armstrongs today.
No Lance Armstrongs for Chris Rump this week. All right, guys. Any other bold predictions this week that you want to mention?
I hesitate to say that this is the game they get blown out, but I don't think they will. But I feel like this could be the game, especially with that special teams and the injuries on defense, that potentially they get blown out.
They'll lose by 20 points.
We get the opposite of the Cowboys one. All right, let's get to our league picks.
Cool.
Whose turn is it to go first? I forget.
It's not mine. I think it's Tyler's. Yeah. So just to give an update on the standings real quick, me and Tyler are now tied at 11-4. Steven is 6-9. Nice.
Nice.
And so that's how the standings shake out right now. Kind of a shit slate of games to pick this week.
It is.
If someone's bold enough to take Dolphins Jaguars, we'll see if one of you guys wants to take that one.
Yeah.
No.
So
Tyler, take it away.
Yeah, so there's 4 teams on bye this week too, which makes it even more difficult. But yeah, Tyler, go ahead. 2 outright picks and then your underdog of the week.
Yeah, what an ugly week for picks. My two outrights are going to be the Rams over the Giants. And then I almost had a heart attack last week because the kicker sucked, but I'm going to take the Packers over the Bears. Sorry for Alex being a Khalil Herbert truther. I just don't think that's enough to overcome the Green Bay Packers. And then for my upset pick, I'm going to take the Cardinals over the Browns. I like Steven's pick last week, taking the Bills over the Chiefs in the upset. If you're going to pick a team that can score. So I'll take the Cardinals over the Browns in the upset.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that they were underdogs. So I guess it's in Cleveland.
Browns at home. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very cool. So I'll go next then. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to go Chiefs over Washington. Going to take the gimme one there. Nice. Although I do think the Washington football team can cover this one just because the Chiefs defense is so damn bad. I think next one I'll go Cowboys over the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And then underdog, I've picked them several times this year. I'm going back to them, and that's the Seattle Seahawks over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we might see a little bit of a Geno Smith game this week. There's really no other underdog that I like.
Right.
So, I mean, like, what am I going to do? Take the Giants over the Rams or the Texans over the Colts? Actually, I guess that one's not too bad. But yeah, I'm sticking with the Seattle Seahawks over the Pittsburgh Steelers on the worst Sunday Night Football matchup I can remember.
Yeah. Thought about that one. I'm still not going to take it.
Yeah. I guess I'll go head to head with Steven because I'll take the Steelers over the Seahawks. I just, Russell Wilson, if he was playing in that game, I would take the Seahawks. But
if he were playing, I think the Seahawks would be favored.
Yeah, I think they'd be favored by like 7. But yeah, no, I think that the Steelers got it together a little bit last week, so I'll talk myself into taking the Steelers over the Seahawks. Other than that, did either of you take Colts over Texans? Is that off the board?
You can go for it, yeah.
All right, I will take Carson Wentz and the Colts to beat the Texans. Why do I do this to myself? I don't know. But yeah, I will take them in that one. And then the underdogs that are left are really brutal. Bad. Okay. Fuck Lions? It. I'm going to do it. Urban Meyer and the Jags get the win over Miami. He's going to grind out this one.
Shit. The most uncharacteristic Alex picks of his life, probably.
I mean, he has to get a win at some point.
Yeah. No, I almost went with the Lions over the Bengals. I think that could be an interesting one. I just don't think the Lions, frankly, have the talent at this point. That receiving core is just, it's awful out there. It's TJ Hawkinson and no one else.
Alex, you're banking on Pittsburgh, the city of Pittsburgh, Carson Wentz, and Urban Meyer. Are you okay?
This is what happens when you go last in the picks, okay? This is what happens when you go last in the picks, brought to you by expressvpn.com/guilty. So you could go watch all these games in beautiful all 22 and watch Urban Meyer pick up his first win against the Dolphins.
Oh my gosh, the poor people over there in Europe starting to love football. And what do? We give them Falcons, Jets, and Jaguars, Dolphins as the only 2 London games this year. That's just brutal to watch. But they sold out apparently.
Of course.
And then super cool NFL getting some games out in Germany in the future. I think that'd be awesome. All right, let's wrap this show up with our predictions for this game. I think I'm kind of getting the sense that both of you are going to be picking the Ravens in this one. I'm going to be picking the Chargers. I think that your concerns about special teams are valid. Obviously, the Drew Tranquil injury hurts, but to me, I just trust what Brandon Staley, Joe Lombardi, and Justin Herbert are doing on offense more than I do have concerns about the defense. So I think the defense gets a couple turnovers, limits the damage a little bit more than people are kind of thinking. I'm going to take the Chargers in this one, 27-23.
I like it. Now, you may think, based on my pessimism, that I think the Chargers would lose. I don't think they will lose. Why is that, do you ask? Well, 1, I think the Chargers are a better team. But 2, the Chargers are 5-0 when I take my fiance out for her birthday. we are currently in the week where I take my fiance out to see if we can get to 6-0. So I'm taking the Chargers 30 to Ravens 27. I do think it's, especially based on last week, I think they can score a little more. I also think they can give up a little more. So I'll go 30 to 27. I do think the Chargers will win. Happy birthday to my fiance in about a week. When we going out, probably won't watch the game, but they will get a win because it's guaranteed 5-0 so far.
And you mean in 3 days?
What do you mean?
Well, we're predicting for the Ravens game.
Well, yeah. But her birthday, I'm taking her out for her birthday, but it's on Sunday, not like on her birthday, just for her birthday.
Okay, I got you. Her birthday's in a week, but you're celebrating on Sunday.
Yes.
Okay, my mistake.
All good.
Was not following.
Alex, heart
attack. Alex, wrap it up, man.
Yeah, I don't quite have the same mental gymnastics Tyler did. I feel like the Chargers are losing this game. I don't want to be that guy, but unfortunately I have to. The matchup concerns me more so than the actual team they're playing. I think the Browns, the way that they look coming into that game, obviously they're still a competitive team in the AFC, but I think this Ravens team is unfortunately really rounding into form. It's a 1 p.m. game on the East Coast, which, has never really been pretty. They were able to do it against Washington this year, but I don't know if I trust it against this Baltimore team in particular. I think Drew Tranquil is a massive loss just because of what the perceived drop off is, and the fact that they're going to have to play Niemann a lot of snaps, having not played in an NFL game before, really. And so that I think is particularly troubling in this game. In addition to what I mentioned before, like, the Ravens are kind of good at everything the Chargers struggle with, right? Like, and so all of that being said, I could still see the Chargers coming in and winning this game. The line is only Ravens -3 or -3.5. And I think that's fair given the credit that should be given to the Chargers this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a great feeling about this one. I'll say Ravens 27, Chargers 21.
So the line is Ravens -3, just FYI. But I think your concerns about special teams, about the run defense are valid. We'll see. This is a very interesting matchup because the rushing attack is so different. But we'll. I'm not going to say that I have confidence, but I think really I have confidence in the secondary this week, and I think the secondary will kind of pick it up a little bit more, create a turnover or two, and I think that's really the biggest difference for me. Tyler, final thoughts before we head out for the day.
I had a question for you. If Mike Williams, Drew Tranquil, and Nasir Adderley all do not play, are you changing your pick?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd probably do the same.
If all three of those are not playing, I'm changing my pick because that means you're trusting Nick Niemann, you're trusting Josh Palmer, and you're trusting Alohi Gilman to play starting snaps. So I think that changes things significantly. If it's just Tranquil, I'm kind of including that in my prediction, but I think if Adderley is out, I probably would change it a couple points. I would still pick the Chargers to win, but if Mike Williams is in this game, I think the Chargers win.
Yeah, I don't know. I obviously hope the Chargers win this game. It would be great to go 5-1 heading into the break, and we just get to have good vibes for a week before they start like a pretty relatively easy stretch when you talk about the Pats and the Eagles and the Steelers and the Vikings. Like, I think those are all pretty beatable games. So going 5-1 would be huge going into there. But for me, either way, whether they're 4-2 or they're 5-1 going into the break, like, this is above my wildest expectations. Like, sure. I was sort of expecting them to be a 3-3 team heading into the break. So either way, regardless of what happens, I think they're set up in a good position as long as they get those players back from injury and hopefully, health, cross your heart and whatever for the field this Sunday, just because, like, I don't think they can afford many more injuries on defense at this point.
Cross your heart and whatever. That's my favorite thing.
I think that's how you can tell I never go to fucking church or synagogue.
At Thanksgiving, I'll roll with that one. Like, hey, Tyler, you want to say grace? Yeah, cross your heart and whatever.
Yeah, I think that's how you can tell I'm an atheist, but...
oh man. But yeah, I think that, there's obviously going to be some reactions on Twitter. Obviously, if the Chargers lose, there's going to be a lot of negativity. But just remember, 4-2 is much better than anyone would have expected it. I think even the most optimistic Charger fan 6 weeks ago, if they had known that they'd be 4-2 heading into the bye week, I think that they'd be pretty happy. So do your best to stay positive on Twitter. I know that, emotions fly, right? And the Twitter fingers are real. I will be trying to follow that advice myself, but I do feel pretty confident about this one. Tyler, any final thoughts, man?
That's it. Let's just go get a win.
Yes, let's do it. As always, we appreciate all the ratings or reviews, all the likes on YouTube, comments. Please let us know what you're concerned about in this matchup, what you are confident in. We always appreciate all the support. And if you know any new Chargers fans that are hopping on the bandwagon, please send them our way. We always appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Peace.